Thank you. And thank you for all your comments recently. It's absolutely fantastic to get them, and I really, really appreciate them. And actually, there was a comment left on a video that I did respond to. Some of you might have seen the response, but I thought it would be really, really good to share. So on the video called Thoughts on Using Old Jars, Practical Magic, which is part of the Thoughts On series, so that's been taken from an episode of The Witching Week, and that was episode number 46. Somebody said, and thank you so much for this comment and for asking me what I thought. This was an excellent question and an excellent conversation starter. They said, I used to believe in spells, but now feel that it's actually about the power of thought and belief that promotes manifestation. The spell just encourages that belief and isn't necessarily necessary if your thoughts are strong enough. I'd love to know what you think. So, to answer that, yes, I do believe that we can use just our minds to manifest things. I believe that we can do spells without tools. We can do something called working on the inner temple. I think that if we concentrate our brains and our thoughts hard enough and we do certain things, I definitely feel that we can influence things with our minds. I think that you have to have a fairly strong mind to do this. I think that you have to have an understanding of the natural laws of magic and how magic works, whether that's a conscious understanding or you have just worked it out without even really realizing. I think you have to understand how manifestation works, and there are other things at play as well, like the law of attraction. I mean, this is a really big topic, and I think you could go down several routes with this. But yes, I absolutely think that you can do things with your mind. I'd also say, and this is a debate and a conversation that people have been having for many, many years, where does witchcraft start and psychology end, and vice versa? You could argue that a lot of witchcraft is just thinking a certain way, and then because you think a certain way, you're backing that up, with other things. So, for example, when you're more positive and you make an effort to be more positive, then people will respond to you more positively, and then that causes certain things to happen as well. So there was an article actually that I found only in the week which ties in nicely with this, and it's on the website Psychology Today, and the article is, Does Witchcraft Hold the Secret to Happiness? So you might want to go and have a little read of that and think about that. But I do believe that we can set our minds to anything, but I think that a spell is a really good focus, especially for people that are new to magic and new to witchcraft. And then from there, what I will say is I disagree with the statement that it's all about the intention. People say this, it's all about the intention, it's all about the intention. Yes, it's really, really important to, one, have your magical goal, your magical aim in mind. Secondly, of course, it's very, very important to have a clear and concise goal so that there is no room for interpretation with the universe. So for example, if we are thinking about money and we want to do a spell to attract money, we want to be very clear on that so that old Aunt Mabel doesn't die and then leave us all that money. We have to be very clear, we have to be very concise, we have to decide how we're going to do the mundane work and how we are going to do the symbolic magical work, and what the symbology of that magical work, how that looks and how that can be interpreted. But it's not all about the intention. It is your magical will and determination to, one, decide to do the spell, to dare to do the spell, to have the knowledge to do it, to back it up, and to carry out that spell, and to decide that, and this is where the magical will and determination really comes in, to decide that the outcome of that is going to be in your favour, and to have no other thoughts, to think otherwise, which kind of plays into the whole manifestation thing. So yeah, I do think that we can achieve things just with our mind. I know that I can think of instances over the years where I have thought something into existence. I never intended to do that. So I think it's one example of that is I used to spend a lot of time thinking and visualizing and imagining. I was a great daydreamer, being in a townhouse, living in a beautiful townhouse. Now, I never actually thought with those thoughts, I'm going to make that happen, I want to do that. I just used to spend a lot of time picturing it and thinking, yeah, that would be good, that would be good. And then one day I ended up quite by accident living in one. That was the house that we lived in before here. So I also think it's really, really interesting that all the people that use the phrase, it's all about the intention, they will have a physical spell and yet they seem to focus on an action of the mind. I think that's really, really interesting. I think spells are, yeah, they're a really good focus, and there are rules as well, which is why I believe that spells actually do work. So, for example, we have making sure that we work across all of the levels of reality. Now, that's a conversation for another day. Another video. This is the Witching Week, so we just touch on topics. You could go away and research the levels of reality. There is a really good section in the book Spells and How They Work by Janet and Stuart Farrar about the levels of reality and working with them. It's spells. There is also the need to release. So you do your spell, you release it out into the universe to do its thing, and then the next sort of step or rule, if you like, is to forget about it, to literally release it, let it go and just completely forget. And that's a really important part of spell work. So though while I do kind of agree with this statement that one of you has made, thank you so much, in the comments about the mental cognitive sort of workings and that we can achieve stuff using our mind, I absolutely agree with that. But actually, yeah, I do believe that spells work. All the spells that I have ever cast have worked, and there are steps for making sure that you have successful spell work. So for me, it's both. It's both. You can do both. I would be really interested to know if that person is watching this episode of the Witching Week and if they see this and how they feel now that we've spoken about it. So yeah, what do you think? Are spells purely just a focus for our minds, or do you think that they are something we can use that will change or transform or stop or start or bend something? What do you think? I mean, obviously there are natural laws, there's a limit as to what we can achieve. You wouldn't believe the number of requests I get from people, usually from India. So obviously there's a cultural thing going on there, but not always. But overall, I get a huge amount of requests from people around the world asking me to change their eye colour, asking me to change their height, asking me to basically perform the impossible or direct them to, cause the impossible, change the impossible, do something that is impossible. And I have to explain that there are natural laws, magic works with natural laws, and there are natural laws to the universe. There are things we can and can't change. So yeah, we can't do the impossible, but we can make other things more possible, I guess, is where I'm going with this. So yeah, tell me, what do you think? Do you think it is only all about the mind? Do you think that spells are just an extra that actually we don't really need? I don't think there's any doubt that spells are a good focus. But what do you think? Do you think that spells don't work? Do you think they're superstitious? Maybe you're watching and you're not a witch or a pagan at all, and you've just happened to I can't get my words out today. You've happened across this video and you have just been intrigued. I'd love to know what you think. But the mind is incredibly powerful. We can achieve so much with the mind, and I think I'm probably quite a good example of that. Again, like, I'm trying to move off talking about my health, but it's such a big part of my life. And it, you know, when you list the conditions that I have, so many people would have given up by now with just one or two of them. And I am just like, no, I'm going to use my magical will and determination to see me through, to remain positive. The mind is incredibly powerful. I don't fully go with the whole, you know, you can think yourself well. And we've spoken about this, and we've spoken about this sort of like toxic positivity. You know, sometimes mechanically there are things that are just wrong. Sometimes things just fail out of bad luck. You know, there isn't necessarily a reason for everything. Sometimes bad things happen. Sometimes bad things happen to good people. It's the luck of the draw when we're born, what we get given. I don't think that we can cure ourselves by thinking. You know, not everything can be thought better, because trust me, I would have done that by now. But using your mind and training your mind, and yeah, having certain thoughts and attitudes definitely does help. It can definitely help, and it can definitely give a completely different picture. So you can have two people in the same situation, and it can be a completely different picture for each of those depending on how they think. But anyway, yeah, I think I've always been lucky with my spells and with manifesting things that I've been thinking about, because I spend a lot of time in my own head. I'm one of those people that has got an internal monologue. Apparently only about 30 to 50% of the population does, which absolutely blows my mind. So many people apparently don't have this like inner voice, and they don't have these conversations sort of with themselves. I find that really mind-blowing. And I've always been an excellent daydreamer as well. I'm a very visual person, so when I start thinking about something, I have visuals playing out in my mind, and I think that is really helpful if you're somebody who is well, not trying to manifest something, because sometimes it just happens without realizing it, but it definitely helps if you're somebody who performs magic, deals with magic. It's helpful to have that you know, being able to visualize something precisely and clearly. I haven't been so lucky with meditation. There is some sort of connection that has happened with my brain since I got poorly, where it's very hard to go deeply under and visualize in that sense. But in terms of just imagination and daydreaming, that's still very strong. So, and I think that has been responsible for a lot of things manifesting that I never actually even intended to set out to manifest. They were just lovely daydreams, lovely sort of like dalliances in my head. So yeah, absolutely great question. Thank you so much for asking that, and I hope you didn't mind us all exploring that.